What's going on, guys? Styx here with the Token Minorities, bringing you the battle for Week 6 of Season 6 of the CPC, and this week we are up against A12 and his Arkham City Delibirds. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button as it helps us out a lot, and let's do more cool stuff for you guys. And then also, if you've not done so already, please feel free to check out the TTM Discord that will be linked in the description. Here at TTM, we are a collaborative channel, so we have more than just the draft content from myself. We also have draft content from Crobat for the Win and Jolt, as well as TCG content and the occasional TTM Pokédrom, which is a fake news Pokemon thing that Maddie Brawlick occasionally does. So if any of that interests you, please feel free to subscribe. And then also in our Discord, we have channels for every facet of Pokemon, Draft, TCG, and Smogon, so check that out as well if you so choose. And then also check out my opponent's channel. It will be linked in the description. He's a very good battler, and I believe he's a former champion of the CPC. Not completely sure on that, but I'm pretty positive he is. But either way, let's just go ahead and jump right into the battle. If you have not checked out the team builder, I encourage you to do so. But a quick rundown of the team. We have a Choice Scarf Tapu Koko, Choice Scarf Gengar, a mixed defensive Necrozma that's basically a lure for Hoopa, a mixed defensive Swampert that's more focused on the physical defense than the special defense, just a rocker. We have an Incineroar with a Choppleberry, which is designed to be a switch into Hoopa, and then we just have a modest Hurricane spamming Mega Pidgeot. So yeah, that's a quick rundown of the team, and looking at his team, first things I'm noticing is he did not bring three huge annoyances for my team. He did not bring the Jirachi, the Mega Altaria, and he did not bring the Gothitelle, which Gothitelle, like I said in my team builder, my team is very, very well equipped for handling that. Even though I built the team before he grabbed Gothitelle, my team still worked very well because I had U-Turn on 2 Mons, or 3 Mons rather. I had Roar on Swampert, I had, well, Gengar, which can't be trapped, and then I had Necrozma with 2 super effective moves, so I had ways of dealing with Goth rather easily with my team. And then also, he did not bring the Mega Altaria, which of his 2 dragons, I thought Mega Altaria had the much better matchup against my team than Noivern. So, needless to say, seeing Noivern was a big sigh of relief for me. But that being said, he did bring the Xatu, which really puts a hampering on my plans because a lot of it is around chipping his potential Assault Vest Mons, which, considering he brought the Electivire, of course he would. I'm thinking that that is going to be Assault Vest, so I want to chip that thing down as quickly as I can, and then also just get super effective damage on Darmanitan and Noivern would have been great, but I can't afford to let him bounce back rocks onto my side, so it's really going to almost be a non-factor in this game, as I'm not going to even try to get them up until that Xatu is down, as I do think I can beat him straight up, but if rocks are on my side, I will be insanely pressured, so I don't even want to do that until I can do it 100% safely. That being said, I am going to lead with my Swampert, as I do have Protect on it, and I will be able to scout out whatever he wants to go into, and he leads with his Diggersby, going to Protect. Like I said, Diggersby is more than likely choiced, especially if he led with it and he goes for the U-turn. That is fine. I'll be able to scout out what type of Diggersby that is, and given that it only did 20 damage, I do know that that is going to be a Choice Scarf Diggersby, as I'm just going to fire off a Scald. I knew Xatu was the most likely switch in. He would want to bounce back the rocks immediately, and I can fish for burns. I can do a little bit of damage to Xatu, scout out what type of set it is, and that damage revealed that Xatu is, I mean, it's Spadef, but not like fully invested in Spadef. Like, it has to have like at least a little investment. I think I thought it was like 252 HP and then like 100 Spadef, but not Calm, or something to that effect. It had a little bit of Spadef, but I'm thinking that this is probably a mixed defense Xatu, no matter, well, whatever it is. So knowing that my Swampert is in there, Xatu does easily get grass coverage. I'm just going to go straight into my Incineroar. He might want to Roost. I just wanted to kind of see what he would do. And he does U-turn, and luckily for me, he U-turns right into his Hoopa. So by turn 4, I'm going to be able to chew the Focus Blast from Hoopa, as, like I said, this Incineroar is designed to take any one hit from Hoopa and U-turn out, and so I will be able to KO this Hoopa, which is phenomenal for me, as I see that Hoopa is a special threat, and the fact that I will be able to U-turn out on it and potentially get rid of it. As you can see, the Focus Blast only does 43, so even without a Chopple, I would have lived. And then I go for U-turn, he reveals Tanga, and I crit him through it, which knocks out the Hoopa. Now, that did 100% matter in terms of knocking out the Hoopa, but at this point, Incineroar had done its job. It scouted out the Hoopa set. I was able to show that it was not... Well, I was able to show that it's a Tanga Berry, so it's not Choice Scarf or anything like that. I could have just gone straight into my Tapu Koko or my Mega Pidgeot, and then U-turned out. With the damage that I would have done with Tanga Berry, even if I had not crit it, it would have been in range of Shadow Ball or Sludge Wave from Gengar. So really, Incineroar got all the damage that I needed off on the Hoopa for it to be essentially a non-threat later in the game. However, I'm not going to deny that getting that U-turn crit and taking out Hoopa this early, even a low HP Hoopa, could have been a little bit of a nuisance if Necrozma was down late game or Swampert was low, could come in and try to get a free kill off of that. So I do apologize for that. However, my play still would have been just U-turn with my Mega Pidgeot or my Koko to take out the Hoopa or get switch advantage if he decided that he wanted to save it. So that being said, I did take out the Hoopa, just going to go straight back into my Swampert, get some leftovers recovery, as once again I can protect on whatever he wants to go into, and in considering he does go into the Xatu, I'm thinking, okay, he's probably going to try to go for some grass coverage on me, as he does get me on that turn that I protected and does roost back up to full, and now thinking that, okay, he probably actually doesn't have grass coverage, as it doesn't necessarily need it to beat Pert. I'm going to stay in, go for a Scald, and I get a crit. And also, what I'm doing right now on the Xatu is trying to fish for birds. If I can get a burn on this Xatu, that means it can't switch into Swampert as reliably. We already know that it does not have lefties, so being able to just chip that thing down over and over, and then the U-turns potentially later in the game, just put it in range of things like Knockoff, Hurricane, etc., as he does get a Toxic off on me, which lowers Swampert's longevity significantly. However, Swampert's still at a very good amount of HP. It can take the hits that I need it to take and then get off the damage that I potentially need to. So considering I did get a crit, was very lucky in that regard. I am thinking that he's going to try to roost up because my Swampert hasn't revealed anything that can hit Xatu apart from Scald, and Scald is doing pitiful damage. I mean, a crit didn't even do 50%, so I'm thinking that he'll probably want to stay in, try to roost off that damage and just be at full health later. So I am going to try to take this opportunity to get a little bit of initiative in this and go straight into my Incineroar, as it will cover the roost play. It covers any play that he wants to make, and unfortunately, well, as he does roost right there, sorry, I was a little bit ahead of myself, as he U-turns right here, I was thinking one turn ahead, so I did get the roost play right thanks to that crit. I think he probably would have tried to roost anyway, or he might have gone for Grass Stab had I not gotten that crit. But either way, Incineroar was a very safe play on Xatu, as he does go for the U-turn, goes straight into his Noivern, and I'm just going to go for an Adamant knockoff, as it does hit the Noivern for some very, very good damage. Now, this does two great things for me. It reveals that Noivern is a Z-Mon, has a Z Crystal, as obviously I did not knock off anything. And this damage also puts Noivern actually in range of Gengar's Shadow Ball. I think there's, depending on the exact HP investment he has, if this is just a max speed, max special attack Noivern, which it very well might be given that it outspeeds Mega Pidgeot by, I believe, 1 point. I'm pretty sure it's Noivern naturally outspeeds Mega Pidgeot by 1 point in terms of base speed. So this is just a max Noivern, which looks like to be minimal bulk, if any. Thanks to that knockoff damage. It's now in range of Shadow Ball from my Gengar, which is absolutely huge for Gengar's potential to win the game later. But I don't want to sack my Incineroar just yet. I know that Noivern is probably going to go for a Draco Meteor, even if it goes for like a Flamethrower. I know my Tapu Koko can take... It resists Noivern's Dual Stab, it can take Flamethrower, and there's really nothing Noivern can go for that would significantly damage my Tapu Koko enough. I mean, Devastating Drake would do 0, Flinium, Supersonic Sky Strike, that's it, would be resisted, and while that would hurt, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And unfortunately, he goes into Diggersby. So now, I know I'm Scarfed, I'm going to be able to outspeed whatever this Diggersby is, get some damage off, figure out what type of Diggersby it is. I mean, I have my hunch that it is Scarfed. I just know that it's not Banded or Life Orb or anything like that, and considering you led with it, I'm 99% positive that it is Scarfed, but just getting some damage off on it will be able to determine the amount of investment, so I'm just going to go for the U-turn, as that does reveal that he is just Scarfed. He is just a very Scarfed and minimal investment, as I'm going to go into my Incineroar, just kind of get the Intimidate, scout out what type of move he wanted to go for. He went for Earthquake, I died. If he went for Return, I do live, and what this does is it actually allows me to go straight into my Necrozma to heal up and potentially just knock off items on his team, as spamming knockoff and Photon Geyser at this point in the game will really put me in a position to win late game. I mean, Necrozma is insanely annoying for him to try to deal with and for him to try to take out, so I'm really just gonna kind of come in here, be bulky, take hits, and just really wear down his team. I'm not counting on Necrozma to take anything out, just be a general annoyance, as I know that I am defensive. I can take a -1 Scarfed Return, which is what he showed to be, so I'll be able to come in and take that very nicely, as unfortunately he does get a crit. Now that, I mean, that's kind of sort of payback for the crit on the Hoopa, even though I really don't think that mattered necessarily overall. It's more, okay, it's more payback for the crit that I got on Xatu, because instead of him being able to take another Scald with ease, it forced him to roost up on that turn, and I was able to take advantage of it. With that crit, I cannot just freely go for a knockoff or a Photon Geyser this turn. I will have to take the opportunity to go for a Moonlight to recover back to near full, so that I can take on this Diggersby reliably, as well as the Electivire. So, I mean, kind of a balance of crits in terms of that, as he does go into his Xatu, as I am just going to Moonlight right back up to near full. And now I'm going to just go for a knockoff. I want to get rid of something's item, as he does end up going for U-turn with his Xatu, and I knock off the Darmanitan's Choice Scarf. And this is also great because it puts Darmanitan in range of Mega Pidgeot's Hurricane. And I didn't quite calc on Gengar just because it didn't come up necessarily from this range in this battle, so I mean, I know that it 100% is in range of Mega Pidgeot's Hurricane, and that's the calc that I did, and I got rid of its Choice Scarf. So honestly, Mega Pidgeot is just looking better and better, because Electivire is the only thing standing in the way of me just getting a kill every single time that it is in. Unfortunately, with the Darmanitan in on my Necrozma, I don't want this thing getting chipped down any lower than it already is. Necrozma can take on the Choice Scarf Diggersby, it can take a hit from Noivern, it can take on Electivire. I mean, if it's Assault Vest, which is what I'm assuming it is, it can take hits very easily and beat that thing 1v1, potentially getting rid of its Assault Vest. So I'm wanting to save my Necrozma. So at this point, Incineroar has run its course. Thank you so much, Incineroar. You did incredibly well this battle, but I am going to have to sack you off to the Darmanitan right there. Get the Intimidate, doesn't really matter, but what this does give me is a free switch into my Mega Pidgeot, which I am going to take, and I'm just going to spam a Hurricane. I want to go for Hurricane, see what type of investment this Electivire has, and if the Electivire is not like specially defensive or Assault Vest or something like that, I will, quite frankly, just be able to almost 2-hit KO it, or at least get some very good damage. Now I go for the Hurricane, and it does 35, and I get the Confusion. That kind of puzzled me, because that really wasn't Assault Vest damage. It was more specially defensive damage. So Electivire is not Assault Vest, it's just specially defensive, and that's actually phenomenal for me, because Electivire can't do crap in terms of damage for my team, and I will be able to wear it down very easily. So that's great. I'm still wondering what type of item this is on the Electivire at this point, but knowing that he could be Choice Scarfed, but considering the lack of damage that a modest Hurricane did to an Electivire, I'm thinking that, okay, if for some reason he's Choice Scarfed, I mean, that'd be 3 Scarfers, first of all, which, don't get me wrong, is actually very viable against my team. Just speed control in general is something that opponents would need. It wouldn't be able to do the damage needed to take out my Mega Pidgeot, and if you went for Volt Switch, I would get a kill. If you went for Thunderbolt, I'd get even more damage on it and even more information, which would be great. So I'm just going to stay in, go for a U-turn, scout out a little bit more damage on this Electivire this coming turn, as he actually ends up revealing Rocky Helmet, which is honestly pretty cool, all things considered, as Electivire, I'm sure, was designed to check Koko and Mega Pidge, and both of those would U-turn out on Electivire, so it's a really cool way to get chip on them, so good on you. Like, I actually really like that tech. That was a very cool tech with Electivire to be able to get residual damage on my Mega Pidgeotto and my Koko, as they would not be staying in on Electivire. But knowing that Electivire can't do crap to me, I'm just going to go into my Necrozma, try to Moonlight up, as fortunately he breaks through the Confusion and Volt Switches. I really don't want hacks to, like, truly determine a game. I really prefer a hacksless game. So when I got the Confusion, I was like, this could be annoying. But the fact that he broke through was actually very nice, as he does unfortunately get another free switch into Darmanitan at this point. And I'm like, well, Swampert, you're coming back out, and yeah, I guess just try to go for more Scalds, as he does go for the U-turn once again. Goes into his Diggersby. This is fine. I'm just going to fire off a Scald, see if I can finally get that burn on the Xatu. If I get some more Scald damage on Noivern, it's guaranteed in range of Gengar, no matter what, as go for the Scald, and I finally get the burn on the Xatu. Now, that is phenomenal for me. Like, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted that Xatu to get low. I wanted that to start getting chipped down so that it had to roost, which would give me more free switches into stuff. And I am just going to take this opportunity, switch back into my Mega Pidgeot, as I knew I could take whatever he wanted to go for, considering I had seen most of his moveset at this point. I still don't know what his last move is, but I'm thinking that it's probably Psychic. As we have seen, Roost, Toxic, and U-turn, so it's probably like Psychic. It's probably not Thunder Wave. I don't think you'd run dual status Xatu, so whatever he went for, Mega Pidge would be able to come in for free. As he does go for the U-turn, goes back into Electivire, and at this point I just say, you know what, screw the Rocky Helmet, I want to chip this thing down even lower into Koko or just Hurricane Heat Wave range, as I am just going to go for the U-turn, go back into my Swampert, and he makes a very, very good play of going for the Hidden Power Grass, which catches my Swampert on the switch-in. So let me explain my play. I was under the impression that Electivire was a little bit more invested in special attack. I talked to A12 after the game, and he explained to me, well, he shared his team, and Electivire was honestly just fully specially defensive. So he would have to catch me on the switch in order to 2-hit KO my Swampert. I was under the impression that Electivire had a decent amount of investment, so even if Swampert did just come in on a Volt Switch right there, he would be able to OHKO me with Hidden Power Grass from there. So my play was to predict that he wouldn't bother predicting, as he did KO the Swampert anyway. So I was trying to use Swampert to pivot into Necrozma on the HP Grass in order to get back up to full health, or get some health back with Moonlight. However, he does make the very nice read of going for Hidden Power, as it does only reveal to be a 2-hit KO at this point. So had I known that, would have just gone straight into Necrozma, but he does get me right there. So very good work, as he's going to be able to 2-hit KO me with 2 Hidden Powers. And at this point, there's no point in saving Swampert. Just going to sack it so I can go into my Necrozma and heal back some health, as I can take any one hit from his team. He misses a Toxic, very unfortunate, as that does allow me to get back up to full for free and get another hit on this Electivire, as he does land the second Toxic. And so, I mean, that sucked. I'm not going to lie, that was unfortunate that he did miss that first Toxic, as it did allow me to get a Photon Geyser off on the Electivire. But really, whatever he allowed me to get a Photon Geyser off on would have been fantastic. Like, the Xatu would have been able to hit with the Photon Geyser, as you can see, does a decent amount to where Knockoff could have potentially been a play I could make later in the game, as now that I know his Xatu is probably going to roost, I'm just going to go straight into my Gengar as he U-turns out, and I was like, oh crap, but he brings in Diggersby. Now, this situation is the exact reason that I decided to switch Focus Blast to Energy Ball on Gengar, because if I had Focus Blast right here, I could go for that, but it would be way too risky. I would know that Gengar is too much of an asset for late game, and considering my Necrozma is at very high health, I would probably just try to go into that to tank the hit from Diggersby. But because I do have the guaranteed super effective hit of Energy Ball, I'll be able to go for that and potentially knock out this Diggersby, as I know that it is I know that it's more than likely Choice Scarfed. It does not have any investment in HP whatsoever, so I'm not thinking that it's like an Assault Vest Diggersby, particularly because he led with it. So at this point, I'm just going to go for it. If I can knock out this Diggersby, I can spam Shadow Ball to win the game, and luckily I do just knock it out with Energy Ball, and this is pretty much game at this point. Gengar pretty much wins. Once Diggersby goes down, Shadow Ball and Sludge Wave just are spammable against his team to take out everything. So I really, all I need is just getting Gengar back in, maybe a little bit more damage on the Darmanitan in order to guarantee be in range, but nonetheless, Gengar is in a position to win the game. But unfortunately, as I am locked in to the Energy Ball, I don't have much that I can do, so I am just going to go straight into my Tapu Koko as he brings in Noivern, predicting the Draco Meteor or the Flying move. Really just, I wasn't predicting anything in particular. Just knew that whatever Noivern would go for, Tapu Koko would be able to come in and take whatever it wanted to go for with ease. It does go for Flamethrower, does 36, that is great. What I'm able to do right here is go for the Dazzling Gleam. Now, the reason I went for Dazzling Gleam is because, first of all, if he decided to stay in with Noivern, knock that thing out, Mega Pidgeot just wins the game. Easy, right? If he goes into Xatu, knock that thing out. If he goes into Electivire, I knock that thing out. And if he goes into Darmanitan, I get the crucial damage that I need for my Gengar to be able to clean up the game with Sludge Wave, as at this range, Sludge Wave does knock out everything else on his team and is just nice and easy able to clean up, as he does go into the Darmanitan, not a 2-hit KO, but what's important is Darmanitan now is in range of Sludge Wave, which is what I'm going for. I'm just going to go into my Necrozma, sack that thing off, whatever he wants to do. Just, I need a free switch into my Gengar, and I will win the game as he U-turns into Noivern. Noivern is going to be able to pick up one last KO for him with a Draco Meteor, and Necrozma goes down, but what this gives me is a free switch into Gengar. Gengar is going to be able to spam Sludge Wave and guaranteed win the game, as everything on his team is in range of Sludge Wave. Now, as you'll see, I accidentally clicked Shadow Ball. The reason I clicked Shadow Ball was because Shadow Ball and Sludge Wave were literally right next to each other, and they were both purple. And so I was calculating and was like, okay, Shadow Ball is almost a guaranteed KO. I think it did 55.3 minimum to Noivern, and Noivern was at 56, so it's like all but a guaranteed KO. Meanwhile, Sludge Wave finished off his team just as easily and had guaranteed KOs on everything. So I was like, okay, spent a little time calculating, and then I was like, okay, Sludge Wave, click, Gengar use Shadow Ball. What? Well, Jolt Streams use Shadow Ball, my bad. But luckily for me, I do get the roll on Noivern. I mean, it, like I said, probably what, I mean, the roll was insanely in my favor, like 90-something% in my favor. I think he needed like the lowest possible roll to live, and even then he did stay in, so nothing he could have done would have killed me from that range. So Gengar will be able to take out the Noivern and then take out the rest of his team and clean up the game. So Choice Scarf Gengar actually getting 5 kills in this game, and Incineroar getting the remaining kills. So that was a very, very good game. Ended up being 3-0, which is some very solid differential. But either way, it was still an incredible game. Like, I was very much worried for a decent chunk of that. The Rocky Helmet, especially defensive Electivire, was a very, very good bring. And he is going to make some changes this coming week. I think he's getting like Uxie and Scolipede from Will in a trade or something like that. So very glad I don't have to deal with that. But now Gengar leads my team. I think has almost 1/3 of my kills overall this season. So yeah, good job Gengar. But anyway, that is the game, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.